recording. And let's see. All right. 3, 2, 1, go. And we're live. Clint.
What's up?
What's going on, my brother?
Not much, man.
How are you? It's been a minute.
Dude, I've been in Dallas for 3 years.
Yeah, I know. And you, I see, before that, yeah, I think that's the last time I saw you was maybe y'all's wedding. You and your wife's wedding.
Yeah, man, that was crazy, dude. Planning a wedding down here. And
y'all were living
in
up
Dallas.
there. Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, we put miles on my car.
How did you guys have to come back like every week?
Oh, it was just about every other weekend we were coming back for something, whether it was the cake tasting or, all kinds of stuff, man.
God, here go my dogs.
But the good thing was we had a coordinator, so
that
helped.
Yeah, I told my fiance, I said, you get after it. Just tell me when to show up and say the I do's. And
you got to make some decisions. You'll find that out. She'll make you make some decisions, man.
I'm trying to play it off and like just, hey, baby, just do whatever you want and be like the supportive husband. But because I'm just like, that's not my thing. I'm not, I don't know. But
hey, if anything, just choose a color.
Okay,
or
my
just,
man.
When she says, do you like this one or this one? Just say, I like that one.
I love it, baby. Marital tips with my man, Clint.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming to hang out. I had another guest originally scheduled, and they had to bail real quick, and you were on my list, so I was just like, I'll just go to the next one. Clint, what are you doing today? And boom, here you are. So
awesome, man.
Saving the day.
Doing nothing, dude. Quarantine style.
Yeah. So, so you guys moved back down here from Dallas when? Not too long ago.
I
right?
came down here
beginning this year.
February.
This year, right? Yeah.
I was here for a month, working at my new job, and then quarantine. And so I've been working from home since then.
That's nice.
Have not had to get out of the house.
Welcome to your new job. Now go home. Don't come back.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's thrown everybody for kind of a, for lack of a better word, a shit storm.
Oh, it's wild.
Yeah. But I mean, you're from this area, so it's like
right. We came back home. I mean, me and my wife's family is from Houston area, so we came back home for family. So
and you are originally from
Bridge City.
I have a sentimental piece of Bridge City in me because I actually, way back in my heyday, when I was in education, I taught 2 years in Bridge City.
Yes.
And coached tennis.
I remember that.
The glory days, man. Yeah,
you got to use the court with the grass coming up through the lines.
That's exactly
Heck
right.
Yeah, man. It still looks the same. It's never been resurfaced.
And Bridge City is like, it's like a super small. What's the population there? I don't even know.
Oh man, I think Bridge City is maybe 8,000.
8. Okay.
If that many people.
Jeez, there's one main road, Texas Avenue.
Texas
right?
Avenue, or also known as Highway 73.
Yeah. And then everything else is just kind of out in the country and.
Man, it's boondocks for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not as far out there as Vider, but it's.
Yeah, that's true. But I liked it. Like it was, of course, super small town feel, but everybody was really nice and like.
Oh yeah. You never meet a stranger in Bridge City. You go to Market Basket and see everybody that you know.
Yep. Excuse me. So you were Bridge City Cardinal. You graduated from high school.
That's right.
And you were a hell of a power lifter.
I was a power lifter.
From what I've heard and obviously what I've seen. I've seen some of your videos lifting and I'm like, that's how many plates on that? Like, you sent me a squatting video once of you doing a squat.
Yeah.
And I don't remember, there was probably 5 or 6, maybe 7 plates on each side. And you walk up to the bar and it kind of scared me a little bit. You got up under the squat, the bar to squat, and you kind of like did this shake and you were like pumping yourself up. And then you just lifted this ungodly amount of weight that I would for sure have fallen backwards.
Yeah, man. Back in my day, man, that was a lot of fun. Especially in high school. High school powerlifting was fun. That's where I kind of got into it and started loving it. And then, after a few years after I graduated, I decided to try again and go powerlift. And it was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
What got you into powerlifting?
I don't know, man. I've always been, really strong in high school, I was one of the strongest, on the team. And I was known for the squat.
Really? Oh, so
Yes,
that was
the squat was my exercise.
that was your thing.
I think it's because I've been heavy set most of my life, and so I've always been strong in my lower body.
Got a good base.
Yeah, just
legs.
throw some weight on my back and I can lift it.
Yeah. So what are the main? I guess like the main lifts. I know pretty much nothing about powerlifting other than you guys lift an incredible amount of weight. But what are like your main lifts that they judge you on? I know there's squat, and then there's
So the first one is squat. That's the main one. That's usually where I took my lead during powerlifting meets. And then there's bench press.
okay.
I was not very strong in bench. I did not have a very strong upper body.
Yeah.
So bench is where people
too.
would usually catch up with me.
Okay.
And during the meets. And then the last one is deadlift. And deadlift, I was kind of middle of the road on deadlift, so that kind of just kept me. But mainly what kept me in first place was my squat.
Yeah. So there's 3 lifts.
Yes, there's 3. There's 3
okay.
3 lifts, and then they total it up, and whoever has the highest total
Really?
wins. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And what's interesting is I actually have the state record right now.
Still?
What
year did you graduate?
In 2007.
And you still have.
But I didn't have a state record when I was in high school. It's when I did my adult meet, probably about 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, I thought. Okay. Sorry, I thought you meant like you had a high school.
No.
record.
I went to the state meet in high school, but I didn't place. I scratched out on deadlift. My grip was not very strong.
Yeah.
So I tried to go for it all, and dropped it and bombed out.
Yeah.
But right now I hold the squat record and then the 3 lift total for the state of Texas at the raw lifting 275 weight class. So that's without wraps, without suit. That's just raw.
And how much is that? What's the total lift?
Oh man, I think it's around 1,300. I think
1,300.
Squat is, I know for sure, is about 625.
Yeah.
The bench press, I want to say it was about 307. And then the deadlift, man, I want to say, I think it's like 560 or something like that.
That's incredible.
I can't remember. I can pull it up on my phone and know exactly, but I don't.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. And it still stands too, even 3 or 4 years later. I'm hoping to get back into it.
You want to do it some more?
Man, I've been trying. Yeah. I've been trying now,
Yeah.
starting to get back into it.
That's a sport that's just, you can't, with like, I don't know, like basketball or football or tennis or something where you can kind of play all year round, all the time. Weightlifting, it tears you up so much that you almost have to stop and take a year off, because just to let your body heal, because you're literally just lifting extremely heavy shit over and over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, mainly the reason I stopped, after my meet, I kind of just relaxed a little too much.
Yeah.
And then, met my wife,
got
in a relationship, and, just
other priorities.
Oh yeah, man, other priorities, and I love her to death,
Yeah.
I married her and put on some marriage weight.
She's awesome, by the way, because I know your wife. She is the bomb. So
yes, she is. She is.
Yeah, that's understandable. I mean, yeah,
Oh yeah, and so now we're kind of at that phase where we're settled in. We're back home where we want to be, and so
time to start getting back into
now I'm starting to get definitely, man.
Nice,
well, I was playing a lot of tennis when I was up in Dallas too.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, aside from powerlifting, did you play tennis? That's, I think, how we became friends, is through tennis way back when.
Yeah. I never played tennis in high school.
I was gonna ask that.
I've always wanted to, but I was in way too much stuff. I was in powerlifting, I was in band, track and field, and I just didn't have time to do tennis. But it was always, always calling me.
yeah, very cool. And so when you were in Bridge City, did you do anything other than weightlifting? I know you are a fellow. Hang on, let me drink a sip of coffee. Because you mentioned this to me earlier, and I was like, whoa. But about a year ago, I got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai training just because I was getting a little burnt out on tennis and just the typical tennis workouts. And I was like, I want to find something else that, A, is going to help with my physical fitness, but B, it's not just working out or something that's fun and I can like actually use and learn. And so I got into that, and then you told me you train Muay Thai, which is awesome.
Yeah, man. Me and one of my buddies trained with a guy in Buna. His name's Robert Isaacs, and he had the Gladiator Pit. Is what he called it.
Really?
And I mean, I think he's still training now. He's still teaching, possibly. But it was a little shed in his front yard. We trained in. It was a mat room and everything. There was dummies. He had one guy that fought pretty regularly.
Yeah.
And it was fun to spar against him. Man, he was a tall, lanky guy.
Oh yeah.
And everything. But it was Muay Thai is what he specialized in, and that was a lot of fun.
It's a blast, man. Like,
ain't nothing like getting hit in the face, man. You don't know until you get hit in the face.
What's that? That Mike Tyson quote? Everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth or in the face. That it kind of humbles you a little bit,
It does, man. Like, you think you're invincible, and then even like striking someone. I mean, I know you have gloves and stuff, but I mean, Muay Thai, you use legs and knees and stuff,
kicks,
and
elbows.
Even kicking somebody, man, that takes a toll on your body too.
Yeah. Oh man, especially if I don't know if you're a UFC fan or not, or MMA fan. I love watching the fights and some of the kicks these guys give each other in the ribs and the side and in the legs, like. I don't think people realize like how much that stuff hurts, man.
Dude, or kicking somebody in the head, man.
Well, that too.
Like, I mean, I feel for the guy getting kicked, but I mean, like, I can't imagine just kicking somebody in the head with my foot,
Yeah.
God.
That's why technique is so important. Cause,
I mean, you saw Anderson Silva break his leg. Kicking that guy.
Yeah, if you don't do it right.
Wow.
But that's super cool that you did that. How long did you train?
Man, I trained there, honestly. It might have been about 6 months or so. And, I started, school and then working at, I think this was like right before I graduated. I was working at HEB, and I just started working and,
Too much stuff going on.
Yeah, it was a lot of stuff going on. And it was a 45-minute drive out to Buna. I was living, in Bridge City with my parents. Yeah, so it was just a little too much.
That's so cool, man. And so you guys sparred the whole 9?
Yeah, I mean, it was we just, we'd warm up, do the typical warm-ups and stuff, and then learn some techniques, learn some strikes, and then we learned a lot of ground escape. I mean, because, Muay Thai is standing up. You don't want to go to the ground if you're a Muay Thai fighter. You fight standing up, but, in a UFC fight or MMA fight, you're going to be on the ground at some point. And if you go against somebody who knows jiu-jitsu, like, you better at least know how to get out of it.
You have a bad day. I've in some of my jiu-jitsu classes, I've rolled with the upper belts, guys that have been doing it for forever. And you can get in trouble really quick if somebody knows what they're doing with jiu-jitsu, like matter of seconds, and you're locked up like a pretzel, man, and it's uncomfortable.
Man, I remember I was sparring this guy. His name is Jordan Morgan. Mm-hmm. We called him Jordy. And man, we were sparring, and he was a decent fighter. He won a couple fights at like the local fights around here. Yeah, he's good. But we were sparring. And, I always like to mess with them because, like, once I got him on the ground, or once I get you on the ground, like, I'm a big guy. If I get you close to a mount position, like, it's hard to throw me off. And,
it's night.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I was always talking shit to him and stuff. And, like, man, you better not let me get you on the ground and everything. Yeah. Well, dude, I remember I threw a punch, and I think it was a jab. And he literally caught my arm, jumped up, and put me in an arm bar. Like standing up. I was talking shit. I was like, yeah, man, you don't want none of this. Whoa! And it was over, dude. And I was like, what the hell just happened?
Wow.
And I immediately like,
That's what to me is so cool about jiu-jitsu is like literally in a matter of seconds, like you can go from winning a fight or, if it's MMA, winning off points or whatever. If you're in a street fight, like just a matter of seconds, like it's over.
Oh, it's wild, man. Well, that's the thing about like if somebody's in a street fight, if you're just strictly fight on the street,
no rules,
people don't understand like how much that takes out of you to sit there and fight. Like, you know, you could watch an MMA match, be like, oh man, that guy can't handle 3 minutes in the ring.
It's exhausting.
3 minutes is exhausting.
If you yeah, go put on some gloves and do 3 minutes on a heavy bag, and I'm talking 3 minutes. Like, don't just throw a few I mean, full body, throw some kicks, everything. Dude, it's a freaking workout, man.
It is, man. Like even just like staying, you know, because you have to be on your toes if you're a good fighter. You know?
Oh, movement.
You have to be on your toes. You
Distance
have to constantly move, bob your head, bob and weave.
Yeah.
Do that for 3 minutes. Like, you can even shadow box, and I mean,
Exhausted.
your legs just burn.
Yep.
Your body hurts.
Yep. Have you ever been in a street fight?
No.
Never.
Never had to be in a fight.
Well, I would imagine too. If I saw a guy of your size, if I saw a guy of Clint's size and stature, I would probably be like, "I'm gonna sit this one out, bub," because you're a big, strong dude, man.
Yeah. I don't. I'm not a fighter, Brett. I'm a lover. But I know how to fight.
Yeah, those are the most dangerous ones, man. The ones that love everybody, but you mess with me, it's gonna be a bad day.
Yeah, man.
That's too cool.
I've never had any reason to get in a fight with anybody. You know, I've been in arguments with people, but I mean, it's just
never escalated.
Dude, it's the fact that, you know, like, it's not worth me getting into a fight with you over some words or whatever. I mean, it's it's stupid. It's petty.
I agree.
So
that's awesome. Yeah, when you told me that the other day, you saw my poster and you're like, I train Muay Thai, and I was like, what? I had no idea. So I thought that was super cool.
Yeah.
I do it all the time. I mean, and I do it strictly for the physical fitness part of it. You know, I'm not a fighter. I don't go fight people, but I love doing heavy bag workouts and stuff, man. It's just it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So.
Oh yeah. You know, it'll come in handy too if something ever happens.
I mean, I'm like you. I get along with everybody. I'm not, one of those guys who slams a monster and says, "Let's fight." You know, like that's not me. But true. You never know if someone's threatening you or
right. Well, I think it's imperative that everybody learn at least some basic self-defense.
Agreed.
I mean, especially in the times nowadays where, just anybody could come up to you and
hurt you
and do whatever. So,
yeah, that's cool. And so, and then you went to good old Lamar, Harvard on the Natchez.
Yeah, man.
I did too. So I'm allowed to say that because I went to Lamar as well. Well, I started at Lamar, but I love Lamar. So, criminal justice.
Yes. Criminal justice, man.
Yeah.
I started out as a chemical engineer.
Oh man, I've heard. I
was really good in chemistry, but once I got to calculus, I was like, "Fuck this shit, I'm out."
I've heard that
Dude.
To me, none of the engineering is easy, but I've heard that chemical is one of the tougher ones.
Yeah, chemi was a little tough. And the chemistry didn't bother me that much, and one thing I learned too from like the other chemi students is like, dude, chemi is more. It's more math than anything, you know, which is weird because you would think a chemical engineer would do a lot of chemistry, but no, it's more mathematics.
Well, I think engineering, and I'm not an engineer, so correct me if I'm wrong, but engineering is a lot of numbers, math, that type of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I had one professor at Lamar my first semester of calculus, and she just completely just sucked the energy out of it, and I was just like, oh my God.
Watch paint dry.
I can't get this.
Man.
Let me move on to something else. Criminal justice. That sounds good.
Yeah. I've got a few buddies that did criminal justice. And then so you went on actually after that you went on to become a
Man, I was a juvenile probation officer.
Okay, because the other day I told you, but I used the wrong name of the actual profession. So it is a juvenile probation officer. Is what it's called.
Juvenile probation officer.
And that's what you're doing now.
No, now I work for the feds. I work in the federal court system.
And so you started juvenile.
Yes.
And how long did you do that?
I did that for 5 years.
Wow.
I dealt with those children for 5 years.
So you dealt with juveniles who were.
So when I started out, I still worked for the probation department, but I worked at a boot camp, which was kind of like an alternative school.
Okay.
So the kids that would get expelled from the schools around the area, would go to the boot camp for 90 days or however long the school determined that they needed to be in alternative school.
Okay.
And so, and that that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, well, you're getting, I guess,
I mean,
I don't say the worst of the worst because they're not bad kids, but you're just getting kids with behavioral issues.
And like, honestly, I liked a lot of the kids that I came into contact with. I mean, they had their issues, but honestly, man, most of the issues were stemming from the parents and not having any structure in their lives. I mean, you come from the street and you get into boot camp. I mean, that's nothing but structure.
Yeah.
And so, of course, you're going to have them acting out, trying to, buck the system.
Sure.
But, I mean, you got a 300-pound dude. Like, hey, man, you don't get in line.
That trains Muay Thai.
You don't get in line, bro. We're going to go downtown,
Yeah. This is
Yeah.
Okay.
It was fun, man. And I really do have a soft spot in my heart for those kids, that, have to go in the system and everything. Because some of the kids did deserve to be there. They deserved. I mean, they need the structure. They, need the punitive part of it. Some of the kids, I think, like, if one or two things was different in their lives, they would be different. Mm-hmm. I know I had both sides of the coin. One kid who, came through us and ended up being successful, and then another kid was charged with murder like 2 months after we released him. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's a two-sided coin, double-edged sword, whatever metaphor you want to use. But I mean, it was a rewarding experience though, for the most part. I mean, you work with that kid for so long, and you get to learn about them, learn about their families, and you kind of understand like what kind of life that they're living and like what kind of background they come from. To make them to a point where they are now. Mm-hmm. So
wow, and so those kids would essentially go to, y'all's. Was it called a detention center? Or
so the boot camp wasn't necessarily.
Boot camp. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the boot camp wasn't necessarily a detention center, mm-hmm. but everybody who went to the boot camp was on some type of probation.
Okay. With
the probation department, and then, if they acted up in boot camp and they were on probation, then we bring them to the juvenile detention center.
Which is?
It was Minnie Rogers.
Okay. So
it's right next to the Jefferson County Jail.
And a juvenile detention center is it basically jail for
juveniles? It's jail for juveniles.
They're there 24/7, or?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends. They're there however long that you put them in there.
I didn't know if it was like a typical jail where you get sentenced to 2 years and you're.
Oh no!
Okay.
No, nothing like that. This is kind of like Jefferson County Jail is. I mean, just like a holding cell, if you will. Until a lot of times, if they got indicted or anything, they would hold them until court. Mm-hmm. Then once they go to court and they get sentenced, if most of the time, most of the kids, probation, mm-hmm. Or probation with a placement at like a treatment center, because a lot of them, had drug problems, violent history and stuff, and so, or mental health issues.
Yeah.
And so we would send them to.
That's a big one, man.
It really is. And I worked a mental health caseload for, I think about a year. Mm-hmm. Almost, and that was draining.
I can imagine.
That was draining, man, because you have the kid who wasn't on any medication, needed to be on medication. And then you had the kids that were on medication that didn't need to be on medication. They could function right. They just didn't have any structure. Oh, man. It was, it's
almost like a conflicting for you. Like, you see these things, but really what can you do aside from your job that...
Right. I'm only held to what, the limitations of my department, you know. And, sometimes where... you feel that this kid needs a certain type of program, well, the probation department might not feel the same way if they don't have the funding or whatever.
Yeah.
If I say, hey, like, this kid needs this, and they say, well, he's only had one strike. He needs at least 2 more strikes before we go to this. And it's like, well, you're not really understanding what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you asked my opinion. I'm giving you my opinion on
and then they kind of
what
say,
I feel.
Thanks, but no, yeah.
Yeah, and but I think now they have like a mental health professional there and everything now, so I think it's a lot better. I mean, I haven't been there.
Yeah.
I was glad. It was a lot of stress lifted off my shoulders, whenever I left.
So that was for 5 years? You did that?
5 years, man. 5 years. Started in 2011.
Okay. And then after that,
I moved to Dallas.
I don't know why this thing stops recording. I can't figure it out. My
when
camera.
Did it stop? When did it stop?
It just stopped. Like,
okay.
For some reason, my camera will record for like 25-ish minutes and then stop. And so I've got to figure out why it does that and then get it off. But the audio's going, so we're good.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so did that 5 years, and then what was after that?
And then I got hired on federally.
Oh.
Yeah, and so that's...
Oh, I'm talking to a Fed.
And that's the reason I moved to Dallas.
I plead the fifth. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Chappelle Show.
Threefold fifth.
Dave.
Okay, so you got hired on at the federal level, and
and moved to Dallas for it.
Yeah.
I worked out of the Plano office.
Plano. Okay.
Yeah, man.
And so were you doing the same thing there, just federally? Or?
So, no. The federal system, I'm in the federal court system. So my job now is a pre-sentence officer. And so to kind of explain what a pre-sentence officer is whenever someone gets convicted after they've been, either pled guilty or found guilty by a jury, the case moves to a pre-sentence officer to look at the person's background, their criminal history. And the federal system is a little different from the state system. The federal system, there's a guideline manual, and it's set sentences. So you know how in the state system where two people get arrested for the same crime, have the same criminal history, the same background, but one person gets a higher sentence, like 10 years, and another person gets probation. That don't happen in the federal system.
Okay.
It's the guideline manual was created to eliminate that. And so if you do the same crime in the federal system with the same criminal history as somebody else, you're going to get the same sentence.
Okay.
It's done on like a spreadsheet. It takes your criminal history into account. It takes, what you did. They have certain offense levels. So if you have robbery, you have a certain offense level for that.
Okay.
And then it's cross-reference where, you can add or subtract levels.
So kind of like GTA, depending on how many stars you get.
Kind of. I mean, it's,
But no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a level system, and depending on what you did. So like if you rob something, let's say your base offense level is an 8. If you had a gun, it's a +2.
Right.
Or if you didn't have a gun,
Okay.
Yeah, it just goes up and down.
So these kids would get convicted or what have you, and then they would come to you as their pre-sentencing officer.
Well, federally, it's adults.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
I'm not dealing with kids.
Now.
I'm not dealing with kids anymore.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
so they would
some
come
of the
to
kids.
you.
I mean, sometimes I get some 20-year-olds, 22-year-olds.
Young. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, the feds usually don't indict children or younger kids.
I was wondering. I was like, but okay. So
sometimes they do, but I mean,
I guess if it's that serious.
Yeah, if it's severe enough, definitely.
Yeah.
But I deal with a lot of, or I've gone to jails and spoken with a lot of offenders. Mm-hmm. A lot of drug dealers, big time gang members, cartel members, maybe.
Really?
Oh yeah, man. And it's just an interview to figure out their background, and you kind of learn their history and what kind of stuff that they've gone through in their lives to put them where they are. But one of the main things that I found, working so closely with inmates and stuff, is that, man, it doesn't matter what they've done in their past. They're just a person like me and you. Yeah. They just made some mistakes down the road to get them to where they are. Mm-hmm. And I would say a lot of them have, drug problems. And that's really the cause of a lot of, their problems.
Yeah.
Is drugs.
I think it can sometimes kind of get lost in the scheme of things when you have someone who has committed whatever kind of offense, and that's kind of all they get remembered or thought of as is just that offense, which however awful it may be, it's more to that person than just that.
Right. And I think the judges are really good about...
Having said that, there are some people that commit something that is can be unforgivable. And it's just like, that person is a piece of shit. Like,
Oh, yes. Of course there's those people.
Yeah. But I see what you're saying too. Like, as awful as something may be, you think of like lawyers who defend people who just do awful acts. You got to remember that they are people too, to whatever degree. But it's a weird dynamic. Man, it's weird to think of.
Yeah, I mean, you really have to
basically live it. I mean, that's your job.
All right, well, you really have to like put your personal views and personal feelings aside, to give this person a fair shot at sentencing. And you really, you have to base your opinion, your professional opinion, on strictly on the case and the facts of the case, and the factors that this person has gone through.
Right.
And so, I mean, sometimes it's hard because sometimes, you read some terrible cases. Mm-hmm. There's some terrible predator cases that I've had in the past. And it's like, man, how could you do this to another person? Or like, how was,
But you can't think that way.
Oh, no.
You can't.
I can't. I mean, reading it, of course you feel a certain way about it, but you can't put that on paper. You can feel about it however you want to feel about it. But at the end of the day, it's your job to be objective to it. And sometimes it's hard because sometimes there are those cases that are just messed up.
Piss you off, yeah, but you
Yes.
can't. Wow.
So it takes a lot. You really have to separate, your personal life from, your work life.
Yeah, I can imagine. And how long have you been doing that?
For 3 years.
Okay.
The past 3 years, I've been doing this. I love it.
Yeah.
The cases are interesting, the investigative part of it. My wife hates it. How I always notice stuff. So like there'll be stuff around the house, like I'll see a wrapper here, I'm like, oh, you had yourself a little snack. And then she'll be like, why do you always notice that? Quit asking questions.
Sorry, it's just my work.
I'm like, look, I'm an investigator. That's what I do. I have to look into it. I have to ask questions.
Yeah. I get it.
So yeah.
So when you've moved, now that you guys have moved back down here, you're doing the same thing.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. I just moved, to the local office.
Ah, okay. Gotcha. What's like I don't know, I guess you can't really get into specifics and stuff, but what's like the craziest day that you've ever had?
Oh, man.
In this line of work? Like, is there ever been a day where it's
just like in criminal justice in general?
In general, yeah.
Oh, man.
Over your, because that's, to me, it's a fascinating line of work, regardless if you're a police officer, if you're a detective, investigator, I mean, whatever have you. I mean, you're seeing all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah. Honestly, like, whenever I was working with juveniles, man, it was more hands-on than like it is now. Mm-hmm. Like now working where I work now, like I don't need to do anything with people. Like I don't need to arrest them. I don't need to detain them or anything like that. I'm like, hey man, you go your way. You do what you need to do. I'm just here to report the facts to the court. Like that's my job. Mm-hmm. Because I don't supervise clients. I don't need to go to their houses or anything like that. That's not my job. As well as being in precincts, that's not what I do. But in juvenile, I was a lot more hands-on, because I was supervising kids. And then I was a court officer at juvenile for almost a year too.
Okay.
And man, we were doing a detention hearing for a kid one morning. And of course, the judge was going to, detain him, because he had left home or done something, I can't remember all the facts of his case, but apparently he didn't agree with that. Uh-oh. And so he tried to flee the courtroom.
No way. He just up and tried to leave?
Dude, so I was standing up there and there was a bailiff and, the judge is sitting up there and then there's some other probation officers, some attorneys. Luckily, juvenile hearings weren't public, so there was no other like family members in the courtroom watching. His family was, but there was no other like people in there. It's not like adult. So, man, I was trying to handcuff him and he decided he didn't want to get handcuffed. And so he started fighting with me and like, he didn't hit me or anything. He was just trying to get away.
Yeah.
And so I tried to take him to the ground, and he had this like button up, kind of like flannel shirt like you're wearing, but it was slick. And so I had his hand, and I tried to get, my handcuffs on, and man, he just, I'm in a suit, so I got a jacket and everything. I'm restricted movement, right?
Yeah.
Dude, I was trying to do the, they call it handle with care. And it's where you come behind and like swoop your arms around like that. It doesn't work. I don't know why it doesn't work. It's supposed to be like a restraint technique, for juveniles, because you don't want to hurt them.
Right.
It doesn't work. So, man, so I'm like sitting there wrestling with him, and the bailiff, is pulling her taser out, and she's like, "Clint, let him go." And I'm like, "Oh shit, she's got her taser." So I let him go. And he takes off running. Now she can't shoot in the courtroom because there's too many people.
It's an innocent bystander.
Exactly. So he takes off running, and there was an older probation officer kind of walking in the courtroom, kind of sitting there like, "What's going on?" And so like he runs out one of the doors to the lobby of the juvenile detention center. He runs out the door. And so I'm like running right behind him, like I'm right on his feet. And so the probation officer standing there, I'm like, "Get out of the way!" Like you don't see him running, like you couldn't stand in front of the door. What are you doing? So he makes it to the lobby, and I don't know if they just mopped or if it was slick, but he turned the corner. So the way the lobby is set up, so like here's the courtroom. They go out this door. And then there's a lobby right here. And then the front door is like out this way. Yeah. And so you have to turn the corner. And so when he tried to turn the corner, he slipped and he hit the chairs in the lobby, and they're bolted to the floor. Oh. So he just hit that, right?
Yeah.
And so, and of course, he's a kid. So, his adrenaline's pumping. He's trying to get out.
Yeah.
And so that actually helped me able to catch up to him and get, pretty close to him. And so I was able to grab him there, and he got through the first set of doors to the parking lot, and I was able to kind of restrain him and pin him up against the wall. And so while I had him up against the wall, telling him to calm down, all of a sudden I see a little laser dot, and I'm like, "Oh shit." So and then the sheriff is right there with her, her taser out, and she's like, "I got him. Cuff him." I was just like, "Holy crap!"
Have you ever been tased?
No, I have not. I don't plan to.
I have no desire to.
I've been maced before.
Really?
Yeah.
What is that like?
Man, so this was at FLETC. It was a federal training center. I had to go to Charleston, South Carolina for 6 weeks to do training to become a federal law enforcement officer.
Okay.
Man, if you've never been pepper sprayed or maced, I would not suggest it.
It doesn't look enjoyable.
So it's weird. Everybody has a different reaction to it, right? Mm-hmm. So what they do at the training center is, you're with a group of 20, 30 people, right? Yeah. Your class.
Sure. Whoever's
in your class. And you all go out to, it's a controlled environment, and they mace you one by one, right? And so you sit there and, they say, "Okay," and you can close your eyes. It's not like you're getting maced, with your eyes open, right? Yeah. And so, you close your eyes and, you have your thumbs down, and they say, "Okay, when you're ready, move your thumbs up," and they get you, right?
Yeah.
And so what they do is they do about a 3-second burst. And, 3 seconds doesn't seem a lot. That's a long time.
Until you're getting maced in the face.
It's 1001, 1002, 1003. And so they put a band across your eyes, right? They're right there, and they, do it. And it's with the same stuff that we carry. And it's like, man, it's like habanero oil. It's like, it's OC. It's bad. So they sprayed me. And then after you get sprayed, you have to go through these little stations where you have to punch some bags, like you're fighting with someone that you've just maced or you've just deployed OC. You got some in your face, you're still fighting, right? And then you have to go to the next station, you throw some leg kicks, and then you have to make a 911 call, right?
All while you've
been maced. So they got me, right? So I get maced, and it doesn't kick in right away. It's not like the movies. it's different for different people, but for me, it did not set in right away. And so I got maced. I went and started doing the bags. I'm like, oh, it's not that bad, man. You know? I was like, I could do this. I'm like, okay, throw some knee kicks. I'm like, all right, yeah, shit, yeah. Here we go, man. This is not bad at all. And then they're like, all right, make your 911 call. I'm like, okay. I can't see the fucking numbers. And then it starts burning, right? And then it starts kicking in for me. And I'm like, oh, shit. And they're like, come on, 911, what's your emergency? And I'm like, officer got OC, need medical attention or whatever. And they're like, what's the address? And we had to memorize the address. And I'm like, geez. 2001, baby. Like, it's just like, just got me, right? And just like, I mean, because it's not just your eyes. It's your whole lungs, freaking face. It's hard to talk.
Breathe.
Like, oh, yeah, man. It's crazy. And then
miserable.
So right after that, you know, you go and that's not even the worst part, man. The worst part is getting it out. So, like, you go, you wash your face, you wash your out. You have to literally put water in your eye, right? Yeah, water in your eyes. And then you have to air it out. You have to air dry it for, like, 20 minutes or so.
So your eyes are just, like,
dude,
totally
I have
dried.
a picture. I have a picture if you want to see it.
Of your face?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Let's see this.
So, and I have a before and after, so you'll really appreciate that.
I can't imagine, man. Like,
man.
tased, maced. That sounds miserable.
You know, it was for a little bit.
Not enjoyable?
I mean, geez, dude. I mean, you know, if you've never been maced before, I mean, honestly, like, if you're in law enforcement or anything like that, or if you plan to carry pepper spray, you know, I would recommend at least getting maced once. I mean, just so you know what the feeling is. I mean, because, I mean, even if you're spraying somebody else, you can always get a blowback. True. And it could get you. I mean, you know, you just never know. Yeah, dude.
It's brutal.
It was crazy.
You ever watch those tase videos on YouTube and stuff? People getting tased?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. That's some of the funniest stuff. That and
is.
That and exercise bands when people, like, injure themselves.
Oh, I've done that before.
With those rubber exercise bands.
Dude, let me tell you about that, man. I was working out at Anytime Fitness in Bridge City. And I was the only one in there, and so I was feeling cocky, right? Because, you know, whenever you're the only person in the gym, you're like, oh, yeah, man, I'm the only one in here. This is awesome. I got this. Dude, I put that thing behind, like, an incline or something. And, you know, I was just warming up, you know, stretching out my back. And I was like, all right, man, yeah.
Feels good.
Yeah, this is good. This is good. Well, somehow that freaking thing, like, kind of
rolled up
over the top of the thing. And, like, whoop. Bro, my eyes were wide open. But I'm telling you right now, I was blind for, like, a minute.
That or getting maced, what's worse?
Oh, dude, probably the fucking band to the face, man. That shit gave me a concussion, too, dude. Man. I'll have to pull that picture up for you later. I can't find it.
That's great.
But, man, that thing, I'm serious for like a full minute. I was like, am I ever going to regain my eyesight? I was like, I don't know, dude. I think I'm done, man. I'm done. Like, you know, it's over, dude. That was
Fortunately, I've never injured myself with an exercise band, but I've seen and heard. You're the second friend I have that I know of that has hurt themselves.
Yeah, man. Oh, man. That was just awful. But yeah, man, time at Fletzy was fun, man.
Yeah?
That was fun. The bar on base.
You think you'll ever change careers, or you love what you do? You love it?
I won't. I do want to become a firearms instructor. That's one of my next things. And I'll have to go back to Fletzy for like another 4 weeks or so to get that done. But yeah, that's next on my list. You know, once I get situated to become a firearms instructor. I was Top Gun at Fletzy. So that was awesome.
Oh, man. So,
that was fun.
Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, and you can shoot. It's a bad dude. Oh, well, Clint, cheers to your empty water bottle. It was a pleasure. Man. Thanks for coming to hang out.
Heck yeah, bro. It was fun.
My man, Clint. We'll see you guys later.
All right.